97.1 FM The Drive, Chicago's classic rock. Our special 10 at 10 presentation today. A salute to the Loop, FM 98. You know, I wasn't ready for this emotionally, if I can just sort of bare my soul here for a second. I talked to grown men on the phone who were crying, and people just getting all worked up about this. It's very strange. Let me see if I can pull it together here. Hi, what the hell, AC/DC, 1979. Somewhere in America, I played that because the Loop and the other rock stations in town back in the era were playing all these great local bands that were out there at that point in time. Pez Band, Trillion, Off-Broadway, and of course Survivor. Their first album there was out in late 79, and Somewhere in America, the lead-off track to a great debut from Survivor there. Dave Bickler was the vocalist at the time in the band. Rush, Spirit of the Radio, huge Chicago band, always sold out every time they came to town back in that era, late 70s, early 80s. I played Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band with a little help from my friends because we did a big promotion at the Loop in 1987 on the 20th anniversary of the release of Sgt. Pepper. It came out on compact disc, and we had a contest where we took, I think it was 10 Loop listeners to London, if they answered the questions correctly in this contest. I took 10 Loop listeners to London for 5 days, and we broadcast live from Abbey Road Studios and hung out in London for 5 days. That was the kind of promotions the Loop would do back in those days, larger than life promotions. And oh man, the people we met at Abbey Road while we were there, everybody was coming in for the 20-year anniversary of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Steve Perry was there, Roy Orbison, Edwin Starr, Alan Parsons. I mean, it was a fantasy. Speaking of fantasy, rock and roll fantasy, Bad Company, the Loop was responsible for so many great rock and roll fantasies from back in that era. Hey, Hey, My, Into the Black, Rock and Roll Will Never Die, Neil Young. Off-Broadway, as I mentioned, big record for them, their debut album, On. And my buddy Cliff Johnson, still up there listening to rock and roll radio. I hear from him all the time. One of my very favorite local tunes of the era, Full Moon, Turn My Head Around. Miss You from the Rolling Stones, who went right after the sort of dance disco thing that was happening during the era, and having, of course, a huge record with that from Some Girls out of 1978. The Loop on the air in 77. That was the year that Foreigner debuted with Feels Like the First Time. And we kicked off our Loop salute with Lights Out, the live version, recorded here in Chicago from UFO, Lights Out, Chicago. 10 great songs from a Salute the Loop era, late 70s and into the 80s today here on the Drives, 10 at 10. I'm going to do some other things throughout the afternoon here, including some Andy Rooney-like comments coming up at noon, and a special 145 and 145 today as well. Today's 10 at 10 is powered by Maritoti Law, personal injury attorneys. If you've been injured and need